Every day, we are bombarded with stories and statistics about deadbeat dads and fatherless children. Rarely do we get to hear the father side of the story. This week, I speak with Jastin Artis, a local dad involved in a battle for access to his son. I'm Anita, your host, and this is That Anita Live, the talk show dedicated to providing emotional healing to help you create a happier life. Jastin, let's start with the love story. So where did you meet this woman?
Well, we actually met in high school.
Oh.
So she's 2 years older than me, and we met in band, had a crush on her, you know, typical high school stuff.
Okay, so what instrument did you play in the band?
I played the clarinet.
And she played?
The clarinet, drums.
Oh, so you all were in the
multiple.
same section?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So she was in the clarinet section, but she did drums, so she would flip back and, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
But you married her straight out of high school?
No.
Yeah.
That's where it started.
Okay.
That's where it started. So
Okay.
I had a crush on her. We were new. So this is like freshman year of high school. And I never told her. So everything happened years later. But that's where it started.
Okay, so fill me in, how many years later?
Ooh, that might give away my age. I don't know.
You ain't got them kind of numbers. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. You don't even have them kind of numbers.
I thought I'd try.
No, you don't have them kind of numbers.
Ooh, let's see. 15 plus years. So from the time we met, I knew that I had a crush to about 2010, I believe, 11.
So this is
there.
a jump start.
Yeah.
Were you all in conversation all that time? Fell completely out of contact.
Not exactly, for the most part. So there was a transition in my life where I moved back here from school at Greensboro. And
Yeah,
then
you
I
went to-
moved
you
North
went to-
Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. Yes. Yes.
All of HBCU people.
Yes. Shout out to my Aggies.
All right.
Yeah. So I moved in 2009. It was like a spiritual journey type of thing. So I did know that she still lived there, like a lot of friends, you know, from high school. And I just ran into her. Like I ran into her a few times. And it was just in
Were any of
passing.
these times intentional?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It was one of those things where, you know, you come back to where you grew up and you don't want nobody to, you know, see you or hope you don't run into anyone. I don't know why, I just felt that way. I'm a fairly private, you know, not everybody
My
looking
high
at me
school
and
friends cook
watching.
good food, so I want them to
Yeah,
see me.
I don't know those
Invite
friends.
me
I do not
over.
know. Do not. So we saw each other a few times and then, I mean, it was just like, hey, you know. But there's one particular time I think I've been living back in North Carolina for about 2 years or so. And I ran into her at my job. And her kids so it was a after school recreational center. And I saw her and I was like, you know, what you doing here? And all my kids go here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And at the time I was working on a song. And I was like, wait a minute, you sing, right? And she was like, yeah. And I said, well, I'm working on this song. Like I would, you know, like she literally did an audition for me right there. And that's kind of where it, you know, we
Just
actually
kinda
like
took off.
really started, yeah. So it was I had no intentions of anything. It was about my song. I was working on my album and, you know.
About the music.
Yeah, it was about the
That's
music.
your story, you sticking to it.
That's what I'm sticking to. That's what I'm sticking to.
Okay,
Yes.
so how do we get from her auditioning for a song to married?
It's funny you say that because I think it did start with food. We had this session. I had my best friend meet her just to have this session, and I don't know. There was a spark more than I thought there was. You know, you felt something that you never. Okay, I'm the only one. Okay, but there was something there, and it was one of those things too. You started hearing that, you know, like, y'all look nice. And I'm like, nah, we just working.
Okay.
Like there's some brief history, but I never told her, so she didn't really know. And I think after we finished the song, she invited me over for some hot dogs. And then that's when we actually really started catching up, what you've been really up to, that type of thing. And it was just something I never really experience the way it happened and not having a reason to really engage with her. Because I was single, I wasn't looking for, you know, it was literally one of those, I'm not looking for anything, I'm about my business. Yeah, I love food, so yeah, sure, but that was it.
Okay, but
know?
okay, keep moving.
Keep moving.
How did we get to will you marry me?
So I remember the first several months just being friends. We talked every day. I mean, there was just a lot of engagement as far as communication. And so I'm a communicative person. I ask questions, like I really get in depth below this, from the surface. So, I mean, from there, I mean, just like any relationship, you feel like you're vibing with someone, you're learning things, and okay, yeah, this is nice.
Okay.
And so, so somewhere in here, I was dealing with health issues that kind of came back. And I had a really rough time. It was, if I'm not mistaken, we were hanging out, and I just started getting in pain. Like it was really bad, and we ended up going to the emergency room. And that whole process, I had never dealt with or experienced before. That someone was actually like, yes, we're friends. Yes, we're getting to know each other, but you're taking me to the emergency room. You're staying, like you're really trying to make sure that I'm okay over something that you had no idea would happen, you know. And that's what sparked it for me, as far as, can I see something? Now, prior to this time of getting to know her, I had literally just prayed and ended a relationship that I really want to find my person. Because for a long time, I never thought I could find my person.
Okay.
And I just felt like there were certain things I need that I'm not going to find this person. And so I was really just talking to God and telling him, like, look, I'm ready to do what I need to do, focus on me and get myself together so I can, you know. So there's a lot of all of these emotions and feelings and talks with God coming into play at this moment that I'm feeling like, wow, I've never seen this before. No one's ever really gone that distance for me. And, you know, when I felt like it was right for me, I asked.
Okay, so how much time passed from the hot dog session to you popping the question?
It was about 6-7 months, maybe.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the outside, it's like, oh, that's fast, right? On the inside, it's even faster, you know, being in the relationship. However, you know, looking back on it, I'm like, there's nothing I would change differently about it. You know, I've heard the stories of people a couple of months, like I literally just heard the other day, maybe a few months, and then they're married. And you know, so I've always heard these stories. I'm like, nah, I don't know how. But when you know, you know. I knew that.
I'll take your word for it.
And so, so at that point, I felt like I had done the things that I needed to know and needed to do. There was pushback, you know, from church folk, you know, family, and so there was a time period, like a good 2 weeks, that I didn't talk to her. I didn't talk to anybody because I was in prayer about the relationship, because I didn't want to. You know, when you're in a circle of your network, your close people, you trust them, you love them, you want to hear what they have to say. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. So I didn't want to make a decision, yes or no, based off of what everybody else thought. Because some things wasn't always the same. So, you know, I had to like really isolate myself, spend time, and
you steamrolled it a little bit, but let's get into the pushback.
Yeah.
You popped the question.
Yeah.
She said yes. So then it began to fan out, and everybody began to find out that you were engaged.
No, I at the beginning, I only told a few people. It wasn't like, let's post this on Facebook.
No, but I mean,
So-
her family and friends, your family and friends.
Yeah, it was like literally, it was only a select few that actually knew.
So
that
who
I
was
had
the first
asked.
person that said to you, no, I don't think you want to pick this one?
I know my mom was in there. Of course, I couldn't give you like time frame, but I know my mom was in there when I finally told her.
What did she say?
And she didn't have I could tell it was an intuition thing. She didn't go into detail. It was just, a feeling, I don't know, certain things.
Wait a minute, paint that picture for me.
Yeah.
She in the house in her bathrobe. She in the kitchen stirring that pot, and you tell her, Mom, I proposed to, and she said to you.
I don't even.
I bet she remembers. What did you say?
He's right. It was just something in here that I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell him not to marry her. I asked him to wait. I said, just wait. You don't have to do this now. But I couldn't give him details because I wasn't even sure myself. All I knew, it wasn't right and it wasn't the right time.
Who else was in there?
My pastor was in there at the time.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the funny thing to me was, usually in these situations you hear specifics like, oh, it's, but from the few people that actually told me, because everyone doesn't speak up.
Right.
It was like what my mom said. It was, there's a feeling. And so there was many times that even after I asked, of course, that I'm still, I'm engaged in thought on what everyone's telling me from their point of view. But at the end of the day, I had to trust what I felt. I'm in the situation. I'm in it. I need to be prepared for
whatever
yes
happens
and what comes after, or if I decide no. And I'm usually the person that I feel like I have been in many relationships where I've had, great women. They were, nothing wrong, if you will. But I always, no, I can't go any further. This is it. So at this time, this was different, that I'm feeling something that I really could see a future in this. So it was a lot to deal with, and I had to just deal with it. And the only way I dealt with it was talk to God. Like, I got everybody's input. Now let me put that together for me.
Now, did people give you input all the way up to the day of?
No. So it was more, so what happened, it was probably a good few months before we actually.
Because what was the red flag? If you look back now, what was the red flag? Was it all the people that said no? Was it something within you and you ignored it?
The day of being married, dressed up, everyone's there, and I'm with my best man. And I'm like, yo. Now, mind you, just like any relationship, there's things that are happening. Like, basically the engagement was about a year. Okay, so it was lengthy. So a lot of time, things happen, a lot of discussions, And so at this particular moment, I remember standing at the door before I go out, and I'm like, I'm looking at him, I'm talking to God, I'm looking at him, I'm talking to God, and I'm like, and my feeling was, I was ready, but she was not.
Right there. We'll be right back after this message. Are you serious?
What if I told you that you could stop the negative tape from playing inside your head? What if, with 7 simple steps, you could leave the pain of the past behind and live every day as your true, authentic self? It is possible, and you can do it. The ebook, 7 Simple Steps to Beat Emotional Baggage, How to Become Whole, Healed, Healthy, and Happy, shares how to resolve emotional baggage and feel free to live true to your own personality, spirit, and character. Transform negative thinking into positive thinking and become equipped to boldly face your past and resolve emotional pain. Get your free copy at thatanitalive.com/ebook.
And we're back with Jastin telling us about the red flags and how on his wedding day, he looked at his best man. Now, what did your best man say to you?
He didn't say anything. He just said, this is between you and God. If you really feel like this is it, then, I support you. Go for it, but if you don't, then, don't do it. So, and throughout the process, he was very, And I'm like, well, just tell me, you know, do you know something? Did you, you know? And he never took a side. He never, you know, I think looking back, I think he really didn't know anything that maybe other people might have. But I think he was really just trying to stay neutral, but still support me in whatever I decided. So.
Y'all still friends today?
We are.
I don't know about that kind of friendship. I need you to be real with a sister.
I agree. I wish I would have had. Now, granted, there may not have been particularly something. I don't believe we've ever had a real talk.
Because if he didn't, he might have patted you on the back and be like, "Man, that's just nerves. Come on,
Yeah.
you just got cold feet because it's the day. Come on."
Yeah. But he's never. We have talked about it. You know, did you know, man? Like, why you ain't?
Yeah,
of all people, like, why?
He's
you
not
know,
gonna fess up.
My mom told me, you know, so why? You know? So yeah. But I have to say that during this time of I felt the feelings that I felt on the wedding day, I felt months before. So, you know, you have to do the counseling, you know, all these different things with making sure that everyone is ready. I did bring it up. I had numerous conversations about it. And that was with her, that was with my pastor, that was collectively, without her, with my pastor. Like I you know, and the thing that made me decide was that I was so used to not going that distance. There was always a reason that I couldn't move forward with someone. And at this point, I felt like I always knew more than what the person was telling me. It's like, no, you lying. You're not ready. You're not ready. So I felt if I'm going to decide to take this woman as she is, I have to trust her. And if I can't trust her, then I can't marry her. And so I had to deal with that.
But you did.
And I did.
Okay. Now, how far from wedding day to birth of son?
About 4 months.
Ah!
Yeah. Not planned, of course. I wanted to wait a good year.
Roller coaster.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those.
Dude!
Yeah.
Woo! Okay. Now, tell me about the emotion you felt with the birth of your son.
The greatest thing I've ever experienced.
Were you in the room?
I was in the room, had the camera. I was that guy. Yes, I was. But you know, I do remember, you know, being so excited about it, like when this, you know, and then when I literally saw him come out, it was just that feeling of like, God did this. Like this person just, and now he's crying, and I really froze for a second because there was so much emotions going on, and yeah.
Another level of responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. It was, yeah. It changes you. I mean, I think every parent would say that it does.
So, tell me about this restraining order.
Yeah, so you want to fast forward now. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of things are going on at this time.
Okay.
I noticed shortly after he was born, she changed. There's not a lot of communication going on. There's just there's just a difference. This is not the same person that I walked into marriage with. And it was a little gradual, but then there were some things that kind of sped up. And I think once he was born, there was an acceleration.
Okay.
So
this was your first child?
Yes.
Her?
A third.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm tiptoeing about saying anything because I don't want to get in an argument. And this particular day, I'm, you know, thinking how I'm going to say it, what to say. And we're walking from the bathroom through the bedroom, through the hall to the door. And she's grabbing him, kind of like, I just can't explain it any other way, like he's a football and I'm the linebacker that's running to tackle her. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm holding my hands up. I'm not doing anything, you know. And she's on her way to church. I'm sick at this time. I was dealing with a lot of health stuff, so I just taking medication. I was getting ready to get in the bed. So I wasn't feeling well at that time, so there was no reason for me to engage on anything. And firstly, I wasn't raised that way. So At this point, we're at the door. She hands them off to the oldest and say, get in the car, lock the door. And she stands in front of the doorway, pats her legs and says, come on. And I'm still with my hands up, and I'm like, okay, wait, I know I just took my medication, so it didn't work that fast. But I have got to be in a dream because Jastin doesn't do drama. Like this is way out my scope. And I've done mental health. So I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, I'm going through my head of steps of what to do to not make them feel whatever is going on. So I didn't touch her. I didn't do anything but ask, can you give them to me? Because I don't want to spoil them. And it goes from there. And looking back, I know where I went wrong. I just let her know what I was doing and what I wasn't doing, and allow me to kiss my son goodbye before he go to church. That's all I wanted to do. And she's standing in the doorway, and I'm just like, okay, I've told you I'm gonna, walk around you now, like I'm not doing anything. And when I tried to attempt to do that, she would grab my hands and push me back. And I'm like, what is, okay, I'm really not doing anything. I just wanna, and so looking back, I'm like, man, why not just go back to bed? And so somehow I ended up getting around her. And, I go to the car, the kids I can still see their faces, all three of them. And the oldest is already talking to the police officer. And then the police.
Pushpin.
Yes.
Who called the police?
The oldest did.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe 10 minutes later, I had 3 big old cops come to my door. And they didn't lock me up. I explained everything. I gave them everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they said, sir, we hear this all the time, but you might want to leave. And I'm like, okay. I didn't really know how to take that, but I.
Then you didn't know how to take it.
Right.
You got it now.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. And so I got the restraining order the next day. Didn't know, then the sheriff came and he just read me, all right.
So you were at home?
I was at home. She had left from that morning. It was a Sunday. She had left to church and to her mom's. And I ended up going to church and trying to get myself together. And she came back that night. It was really late with her mom and her brother. Tried to talk. Wasn't really happening. They're of course against me. Mm-hmm. And she's telling my ex is telling me I need to leave, and I'm like, I'm not leaving. Like, we need to talk. Like, this is serious now. And I just remember they left. My best friend was there watching this, and then I went to work. I had to go to work the next day. It was Monday. I came home. It was about 8 o'clock. They knocked on my door. I think I was about to get in the bathtub, and 15 minutes I had to get whatever I could and leave. No place to go. So. Yeah.
Now, so you're estranged from your son. Mm-hmm. What's that been like?
The worst thing I've ever felt in my life. It's when you want to be engaged with people and build relationship, mm-hmm. especially dealing with kids. I deal with youth a lot. Been in education, mental health. I've developed so many kids that are not mine. I'm an artist. I do the same thing for artists. So now that I have my child, our child, mm-hmm. I want to develop him. And I have not been able to do that after that point. It's probably been a little over a year collectively in the time frame that I have not spoken, heard, talked, don't know if he's sick, if he's this, if he's that, in these last 3 years.
How often do you think about him?
Every day.
And you think thoughts like?
What is he doing? Is he acting like me yet? What funny things are he saying? What is he learning? What is the next word? How smart is he? I hear that all the time. People tell me. People come to me now. He's so smart. He's so smart. And I'm like, I knew that. But I don't see. Yeah. It's just a thing when he was a baby. Mm-hmm. The foundation, I was there, and I'm so thankful for that because I was scared that he wasn't going to remember me. The restraining order was for a year. And because I acted on child support and custody, it was only 4 months.
Now, break that down. When you say you acted on child support and custody, what does that mean?
I went to the child support agency and I filed myself for child support because the restraining order had no contact for a year to the kids or her. I couldn't do anything. So the only right thing for me to do is, in order to support him financially, I have to go. I'm not gonna wait, because at this point I'm expecting a whole lot of stuff now that I've never dealt with. So I did that, and they were shocked because they're like, most people do not come.
Right.
And custody, I did the same thing. I filed, and of course it takes time, so it was another month or two before we had our hearing, and then,
So what's that process been like?
the last time I went to court, I believe, was last year. So
Okay.
I've been to court way too many times. I've actually been locked up for child support. Yeah, they don't play. You can be a well-dressed, bow tie looking brother. They don't care. They don't want to hear
And it
anything.
didn't matter that you filed first
It did
when
not.
you
It
that
did.
you went down and took out the child support order yourself.
Yep, it does not.
So within the last 12 months, how many times have you seen your son?
I would have to check my log. But in the 12 months, maybe 6 times. Yeah, it hurts, man.
So-
It hurts. It hurts for me that my mom and my dad don't get to engage with him the way they should.
At all. How old is he now?
He is 4. He'll be 5 in September.
Are you going to give up your battle?
I can't. Anita, I can't.
One disastrous chapter should not end your entire story. If you have minor children you are being alienated from spending time with, never give up. Learn ways to respectfully maintain your parental rights, but never give up on your minor child. To reach out to Jastin, visit justapuppet.com. I'm Anita, your host. Be sure to check out that'sanitalive.com for where and when to see our next episode.